with all this being said, everything that we've talked about so far, is there any change in your prediction in the win-loss column?
No.
So for me, I have this as a win. I'm changing.
Oh.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I'm your host, Justin Harold. With me, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we are bringing you a preview for the Browns versus Chiefs Week 1 NFL matchup at 4:25 at Arrowhead. Football's back, people. Football is back, and I am ready. We obviously had the Thursday night game last night, which was a phenomenal first game back into the NFL. A real nail biter. Tom Brady obviously doing Tom Brady things, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Browns and the Chiefs and everything leading up to this game so far. So, Jeff, how are you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. I'm worried a little bit, but I'm always worried. And I think that the injuries, which we were just talking about, are interesting. We have some key players not practicing this week, both sides of the ball. And we just have what should be a great matchup in Arrowhead this weekend. It's a shame it's not prime time, but 4:25 with Tony Romo will have to do.
You and Tony Romo not on great sides of the ball for some reason.
No.
We'll have to get into that more sometime. But with that being said, yeah, so leading up to this game right now, obviously we have depth charts and we have injury reports. Today is Friday. We're recording this at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we don't have the most current one, but we'll have something up here. Jeff will edit it in. But first, we'll talk about the depth chart, which I think is the most interesting. Obviously, we have some guys that were named starters that, there was a little bit of competition at their positions. So let's start off with Greg Newsome II getting the start over Greedy Williams, opposite side of Denzel Ward. Jeff, what are your initial thoughts on Greg Newsome getting a nod, the rookie?
I think it was good because he won I don't know if that's a rookie at training camp award or if
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that's the rookie training camp award. Okay, so that makes sense. I mean, that's what we drafted him as, our first overall pick. But that just shows that he's always been someone, at least from as soon as we drafted him, he never seemed like too cocky. He always seemed like he wanted to work more and that his career was just starting in that sense. So I think that's good to see. I think it's unfortunate for Greedy Williams. I think that's the tale of, two sides right there, basically, is that Greedy doesn't play all last year. He takes a whole year off. He's pretty much behind speed. And at the end of the day, Greedy and Greg are basically in the same spot. They haven't really had a whole lot of experience with Joe Woods' defense. So Greg Newsome gets the nod there. I think he's probably maybe the most important player of the game, which is, on the defensive side of the ball, he could 100% be, depending on if everyone plays. But I think as far as defending some of these Chiefs wide receivers, I think you put Denzel on Tyreek for sure. You hope our linebackers could do good with Travis Kelce, and then it's going to be Greg Newsome with somebody else that is going to be the pivotal matchup outside of those two.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes is MVP caliber, has won the MVP award, and he'll go after a rookie right away with a veteran like Denzel Ward and some of our other players that are very good in coverage. So he'll obviously test Greg Newsome early, which I think will be great. The other starters that are listed here that we are, going to talk a little about. First, we have Mack Wilson starting over Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. The interesting point of this is just that in an interview this week, or when he was at the podium this week, Choke said he believes he's going to start, but, he's prepared for whatever the coaches decide. I think from a standpoint of what the depth chart shows, our starting three linebackers, Mack Wilson, Anthony Walker, Sione Takitaki. I think the question here is, why is Mack Wilson not starting over in Sione Takitaki's position and Choke just starting where Mack Wilson is?
I think linebackers, it's one of those positions where Joe Woods, I think Mack Wilson, we saw it a lot last year, and I think Mack Wilson's actually pretty healthy, which is he wasn't on the injury chart that we looked at, and then I'll throw up on the screen, which was rare because last year he was literally on it every single week, if not being out. But I think it's probably one of those things where Joke is probably gonna they might just have two completely different linebacking crews. I mean, they really could. Mack Wilson, who you hope to be, a 3-down linebacker. At least we thought so last year. He never was. Felt like he was always off the field after, 1 or 2 plays. So if Joke's in there for 3rd down, or if Joke's, I think it's going to be which is weird to say, but I think it's going to be a Joe Woods kind of optical thing. If he thinks Mac Wilson's playing good, maybe he'll leave him out there. If Mac Wilson's getting shredded, he might be on a short leash and Joke will be in right away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be interesting because I think the depth chart is misleading in some ways. Obviously, you have guys listed as starters in certain ways, but you never know how the rotations are going to work, and you never know what kind of formations we're going to come out in. Because obviously, we talk about the starting lineup being a 4-3-4 right now, but obviously, it's probably going to be more of that 4-2-5 with Troy Hill coming in as a nickel. So it is what it is to look at that from that perspective. That position group from that perspective. But moving on from that, I think Joke will probably be on the field at least for 60 to 70% of the snaps on defense. But that's hopeful thinking, I think, on my part,
Mm-hmm.
just because I need someone to cover Travis Kelce, even though I have him in fantasy. But that's another point. Moving on, last thing we're going to talk about depth chart wise on the defensive side of the ball is just, I think this is a quick one. Jeff, did you have any expectation for Grant Delpit to be a starter at safety behind or in front of Ronnie Harrison? Because I think John Johnson III was always going to be the starter next to whoever, between Grant Delpit and Ronnie Harrison.
I didn't expect him to be a starter just because we went out and got Ronnie Harrison last year, but I did expect him to. I expect him to be more involved than he probably will be on Sunday. But I just think that's another one of those positions where if somebody needs a breather, and having Grant Delpit up to speed, that's going to be a huge game changer, especially for these elite offenses, a couple of them that we're going to play during the year. And especially, off the gate, I think that this is Joe Woods' trial run, especially on the back end.
Yeah.
Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit, and even Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah in the middle. I think that if you get blown out in this game, or not even blown out, but you give up a lot of points, I mean, it's Kansas City. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's the best offense in the league, essentially. Maybe outside of Tampa Bay, which is kind of crazy how good they played the other night. But I think this is Joe Woods' opportunity to try everything, see what works, see what doesn't work, and pretty much design a theme to fit these closer to hybrid quarterbacks. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is not Lamar Jackson, but he's going to be, it's that theme of player. He could run with his legs. He can make plays. He's athletic outside of the pocket. So I hope that Grant Delpit does play, but I don't think he's gonna like you think Joe's gonna play 60 to 70% of the snaps. That's probably not going to be the case with Delpit.
Yeah, and you brought up an excellent point, Jeff, about having guys that we can plug in to give guys breathers. Obviously, that's something you talk a little bit more with the linemen, because obviously those guys get tired a lot quicker. But that's such a great point. And obviously I talk about rotations, but there's a difference between rotations and having guys, actually get gassed during a series, because last year, and this is something, Jeff, I don't know if you remember off the top of your head, I believe I saw an article earlier this week talking about like, hey, a point of emphasis for this defense this year against Kansas City is to actually get off the field on 3rd downs, to make them punt the ball.
Yep.
I think they only punted the ball once in that playoff game is what I saw. I could be wrong, but nonetheless, these long drives that the Kansas City Chiefs are able to sustain is kind of like us. When we run the ball, it gets guys tired, and it's really a key thing to get guys in there that can, play at 100% every snap and go, go, go. And so that'll be a really interesting thing to watch for in this game with substitutions and watching guys come off the field and everything. So very interesting there. One quick note, Jadeveon Clowney has been, and this is where we'll get into the injury report, but Jadeveon Clowney has been out the past 2 days with an illness. It's not specified what it is, but it is not COVID. So there's no worry for him to really miss the game. But missing the reps, the physical reps before game time is a little concerning. And then Odell Beckham Jr., someone that we have just, been hearing so many mixed reports about in terms of, is he going to be a full go week 1? Is he even going to play week 1? His role going to be week 1? So many questions with Odell. Jeff, your take on both Clowney and Odell. Let's go with Clowney first.
I think Clowney's going to be huge. I think that we basically need him to play just because everybody else on that defensive line, maybe outside of Malik Jackson, is just unproven so far. I think if Clowney doesn't play and all they have to focus on is Miles, I think that's going to be a recipe for disaster, especially with their new offensive line pieces. I think it would be awesome to see both of those guys coming off the edge. So regardless of the practice time, because I mean, you do see it, you'd like them to practice before week 1, but you see Baltimore and they're getting players hurt left and right practicing. So it's not practicing the end of the world. Probably not for Jadeveon Clowney, just because he's been in the league a while. He's not a new guy, but we really need him to play. And OBJ, I don't know. I think OBJ is pretty big too, because he was a guy last year where even if he is not playing a significant amount of snaps, I think that was somebody that we missed in the Kansas City game. I think that not having him hurt our run game a little bit, and it hurt our opportunities to go down the field, which I think our wide receivers are hopefully drastically improved from that game in the playoffs last year. But you'd like to see them both play. But I do think it's interesting how OBJ is kind of an on the fence, character at this moment in time, which is pretty weird.
I think Kevin Stefanski has told the whole team, and it's so weird because I feel like he's just told the whole team to be don't give them a definitive answer about Odell. It's like he's trying to hold his cards in a way that all right, they're still going to game plan that Odell's in the game, but having that kind of thought process. Because on the opposite side with Kansas City, Tyrann Mathieu tested positive for COVID, got the COVID vaccine. So all he needs is 2 negative tests and back-to-back 24 hours, and he can play. But could that be a thing where, if they're man, Odell's not going to play or not play a lot, should we keep Tyrann out because of just condition wise, or because he's out because of COVID? But for me, I think Odell, you're right. He impacts the run game because I think teams load the box against us in terms of just wanting to stop the run, because they know a lot of our offense comes out of the success of our run game. So I think Odell will play. I think they're just trying to be coy with it and just be yeah, he's not going to play or he's not going to be 100% because why not? But with that being said, Jeff, I think this is the part of this video where we're going to give our predictions. Obviously, we came out with a video earlier, and if you guys haven't, please subscribe, like our videos, go comment. We released a video at the beginning of this week with our full 17-game season predictions. And so obviously, Jeff might pull that up and put it up really quickly, but we both had this game as a loss in that little preview. Yep. However, Jeff, obviously we can do these little changes in these previews because of little things like Tyrann Mathieu being tested for COVID and Jadeveon Clowney being ill for practices and such. So with all this being said, everything that we've talked about so far, is there any change in your prediction in the win-loss column?
No. I'll tell you though, here's the thing. Because I should have looked at the stats, but it's early. We're getting this out. But I think that even last year in the playoff game, we probably lost the time of possession. And I think that's probably your biggest stat. If I had to pick one stat to look at after this game, I'm going to look at time of possession. If we win by a good to great margin, I think we have a chance to win the game, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, get off the field on third downs, and have 80, 90-yard drives. That's going to be a recipe right there. I think the coaching staff knows that.
Absolutely. So for me, I have this as a win. I'm changing.
Oh, geez.
The prediction was a loss. I had it as a very close loss. However, this is the healthiest the Browns have ever been going into week 1. They're going into Arrowhead, which is, with all their fans, that's a hard bullet to bite.
Yeah.
However, the healthiest we've ever been with a coach that is actually competent. Head coach of the year, second year in the whole system, Baker Mayfield, our offense, all guys returning, all starters returning. Something that I don't know has ever been able to be said since we've come back since the relocation. So with that being said, I think this is going to be a high scoring game. If you watch that Tampa Bay game and that Dallas game last night, it was, I think the end score was 31-28 or 29, something around there.
Yeah.
I think it's right around that ballpark. Guys slinging the ball, Patrick Mahomes slinging the ball, Baker Mayfield slinging the ball, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt getting their runs and everything. But I think at the end of the day, there's more questions on the Kansas City Chiefs side than there is on the Browns right now. And even though we have a new defense, I think we pull out a week 1 win. I always say this at the beginning of the year. If the Browns win week 1 of the NFL,
oh Lord,
big things are destined to happen for them that season.
What if Clowney and OBJ don't play?
We lose. I'll change it right there. We lose if those two don't play.
Okay, little asterisk.
Yeah, just a little asterisk, but I'm expecting them to play. So with that being said, Jeff, you got anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, I think it's going to be high scoring, and I don't think that suits us very well, believe it or not. I think we were in the playoff game last year. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes hurt. Obviously, it was a low scoring game. 2, if I don't know is Chase McLaughlin kicking a game-winning field goal. I think that hurts you too. That's a small hurt. They got whoever Butker, so I'll give them the kicking edge if we need 3 points in the fourth quarter. But that's it.
All right. Sounds good. Well, everyone, like I said earlier, if you guys aren't, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, give a video a like, give the video a comment. Let us know what you guys are thinking going into this game. And with that all being said, go Brownies. Welcome back to week 1 of the NFL. We'll catch you again later. Peace.